My name is Ian Adams. I've been at Wizards for 4.25 years. I am the product owner of Cardset, which in terms that make sense to people who don't work here means I'm in charge of the part of Arena where you play Magic. The most core part of my job is that I am the person who identifies and prioritizes what we're going to do next. So as we work on a set, the person who decides that we are going to take these cards, we're not going to take these other cards, we're going to spend time implementing this mechanic, we're going to spend extra cycles making sure that Delve plays smoothly, or we're okay with the fact that this mechanic doesn't have any VFX and it's more stripped down, kind of making those calls about where we spend our effort and our energy. Do we have time to do an anthology? I look at our schedule and figure out when we can fit one of those in. There is an Agatha's Cauldron Reaping Vines combo deck that I've seen played. I think that's the name of the card. It was nasty. It's one of those things where you can't really tell what they're doing, and then all of a sudden they've got like 10/10 plants showing up on the battlefield over and over every turn. The self-mill Slime Against Humanity deck honestly is pretty strong. The fact that you can have as many as you want, which means if you manage to mill 15 into the graveyard before you start playing them, they're 15 15s each time you put one down. The red-green face-down creatures mechanic is actually pretty fun. There are some cards you can use to do some fun stuff where you are able to get those when this card turns face up triggers multiple times out of a card. And whenever you can pull that off, it's really satisfying. Black-green leans into collecting evidence from the graveyard, getting stuff into the yard, and taking advantage of it. The Slime Against Humanity, I have seen more than one person pull off a draft Slime Against Humanity deck, and it's pretty sweet to see. Secretly, this set has Battalion in it. That's not written on cards, but there are a whole lot of cards that care about attacking with 3 creatures, and it's really good, and it's not that hard to draft, at least it hasn't been so far. People haven't caught on to it. Whenever there's a mechanic like that that's not spelled out on the card, I feel like sometimes people miss it. It's not as obvious of a set mechanic. Don't sleep on Battalion. I went 7-2 with Battalion. I have been playtesting with play boosters since we first introduced them. The improvement over what I first playtested with is really, really noticeable. We've done a lot of work to make sure the contents of the play boosters are appropriate, that you're not opening up traps from somewhere, There aren't cards that seem like they might be supported in the set, but absolutely aren't. It's definitely exciting to open your pack 1 and see 3 rares. It's a hard choice. It's fun to have that tricky moment where you're like trying to figure out what in the world you're gonna pick and what are you gonna pass when you're looking at all these extra cards. Yeah, it makes for some fun choices while you're drafting. Every once in a while you get that card off the list with a special guest that allows you to take things in an odd direction. Yeah, it makes the drafting portion, it adds some interesting dimension to that. The fact that you're seeing more uncommons go around leads to some more powerful games sometimes. The Art Nouveau Ravnica style that we premiered with March of the Machine, which is back in the Murders of Karlov Manor set, is one of my favorite styles we've ever done. I really like that art style in general, that kind of Alphonse Mucha Art Nouveau, and I think we did a really good job capturing that feeling. I've been using the full art lands from SNC, Streets of Pucapena. I know not everyone just says 3-letter combos like you do when you work here. I think the Murders at Karlov Manor full art lands, those like kind of geometrically impossible cityscapes, those are gonna have some time. I'm pretty excited about those. I love the VFX that we put together for Collect Evidence. You've got this little like behind that option when you're choosing between casting a thing regularly and casting with Collect Evidence. The visuals for flipping over face down creatures and stuff too. I think we did a nice job making that an exciting moment. Oh, the battlefield for this one is super fun, and the art team hid weapons throughout the battlefield that when you click on them, they kind of like pop up a little magical glow letting you know that you found one of the murder weapons hidden throughout the scene. I think there's 8. It might be 9, and I just haven't found one. Whenever we're planning for a new set, you know, the art team puts together a presentation where they kind of talk about, here are the different things that we're thinking about. Here's 4 pitches for what we might do for the battlefield. Let's talk about it as a group and pick pros and cons and discuss things. And here's, you know, 4 things that we think could make a good companion. And this one I think might be a good pre-order companion. And this one seems like a good mastery track companion. And Watson was one of those cases where the art team was like, the mole is the companion. I want to be clear from the start, you don't have the option to not have the mole. So let's talk about what the other companion will be, because you're not taking the mole. The absolute hardest thing in that set, for sure, is face down cards behaving as creatures. The best thing about that is that we did pretty much all the work for all the most extreme edge cases for that while working on Khans of Tarkir. If we hadn't already done Khans of Tarkir, Murders at Karlov Manor would have been a nightmare, because the number of weird behaviors where, like, you've got a face down creature and then you mutate on top of it and then you use True Polymorph to turn another face down creature into a copy of that face down creature that's mutated on top. Like, there's a lot of stuff you can do that is ridiculous, but manages to get things into a state where it's displaying something in a weird way. Just catching all of those edge cases and cleaning things up took a lot of time. For Murders of Karlov Manor itself, I would say the trickiest thing in that set is things being suspected, because it's not a it's a designation. It's not like there's an icon, it's not like there's a piece of artwork you put over it. So making it clear, hey, this creature is currently suspected. Because we'll put a badge on a card that means this card cares about being suspected. It can suspect something. This is related to the mechanic of suspected being loud enough that you notice a creature is suspected, but not so loud that it's distracting while you're playing. Finding that balance was definitely tricky. I think if I had anything to call out to people, I just want to note that, you know, the folks who are working on this are passionate people. I have never worked at a game studio where people spent as much time playing their own game as I do here. The people working on Arena love Magic as much as you do. And I know we're not always all on the same page, but it really is all coming from a place of excitement and passion. Are we out of time?
Oh, no, we're not out of time, but I think we should go.
No, I'm good too. I was just wondering why we got beeped at.